Hi, this is Christy. Let's do a word problem using a proportion. I'll be referring to the Solving Math Word Problems checklist as we go. Step number 1, understand the problem. Read and reread the problem, visualize or draw. Barbara burns 550 calories during 54 minutes of exercise. How many calories will she burn in 1.5 hours of exercise? All right, let's reread this, and as I go, I'm going to be making note of numbers and units. Barbara burns 550 calories during 54 minutes of exercise. How many, that will be a number, calories will she burn in 1.5 hours of exercise? Okay, right away I noticed that the time is measured in two different units. In the first sentence, it's measured in minutes. In the second sentence, it's measured in hours. So that makes me think that I'm going to have to change one of these so that they match. But we'll work with that in a little bit. Okay, now visualize. Let's draw a picture of Barbara. Here's Barbara. And here she is exercising. When you exercise, you kind of sweat a little bit, right? And I don't know, when I exercise, I'm not that happy, so there we go. There's Barbara exercising. She burns 550 calories in 54 minutes. Now, let's say the next day she goes back for more punishment again. She exercises for a little bit longer. So she's still sweating, perhaps a few more droplets of sweat, right? And she's even less excited about this one. She burns an unknown number of calories, but she stayed longer. She stayed for 1.5 hours. Okay, that's kind of a quick visualization there of our problem. Now, are there any unknown words? We have to look up unknown words, then determine what the question is asking us to find. I think you probably know what calories is, but if not, you could look that up. Calories, I am pretty sure, is a measure of energy, how you burn energy. Okay. And the question is asking us to find how many calories she'll burn during a certain amount of exercise in 1.5 hours. And determine required, extra, or missing information. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3 numbers. So we have 3 of the 4 pieces of the proportion, so I think we're good to go. Step number 2, make a plan to solve the problem. Come up with a strategy and estimate the answer. My strategy is going to be, I think I'm going to work with this issue here of the minutes and hours that were different. So I'm going to change, I'll change the 1.5 hours to minutes. That's step 1. Step 2 is going to be set up the proportion. We know we're working with proportions, so set one up. Step 3, solve the proportion. Now let's get a quick estimate. I know, well, usually when you estimate, you want to do a little bit of rounding. For instance, I'm going to turn this into 600. And I'm going to turn 54 minutes into 1 hour, just to make it easy. So, you know, in 1 hour, she burns 600 calories. She's going to be exercising an additional half an hour, so another half of that hour. So she's definitely going to burn 600 calories for the first hour. For a half an hour, it would be half of 600, or 300. 600 plus 300 is 900. My estimate is going to be that she's going to burn around 900 calories in 1.5 hours. All right, back to our checklist. Step 3, solve the problem. Write out all work neatly, make several attempts to solve the problem, don't give up, and double check your math. Let's start with step 1. Change 1.5 hours to minutes. You can do this in your head or you can do this mathematically. I think we'll probably do it both ways. All right, 1.5 hours. 1 hour is 60 minutes. A half an hour is 30 minutes. 60 plus 30 equals 90 minutes. Now let's go ahead and write this out as well. If you needed to convert, say, 1.5 hours to minutes, you'd have to multiply by something. You'd have to do a minute and hour conversion. We want to end up with minutes, so that's going to be on the top. We need to put something hours on the bottom so I can cross these off. 1 hour has how many minutes? 60. I'm allowed to cross the units now. Hours cancel out. I have 1.5 times 60 over 1. 60 times 1.5. 0 times 5 is 0. 6 times 5 is 30. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 6 is 6. Add them up. 900. Oop. Good thing I caught myself. I was like, what? No. Remember, you have to take your decimal, and you have 1 digit past the decimal. So you need to make that match down here. So 90 minutes. That's correct. Step 2. Set up your proportion. Barbara burns 550 calories in 54 minutes of exercise. That's the proportion that I know. The proportion that I don't know is going to have one unknown value, and it's going to be calories, because the problem says, how many calories will she burn in 1.5 hours? How many calories is up here? And we already converted 1.5 hours into 90 minutes. Now our units match. We have the same units on the bottom and the same units on the top. Okay, it's set up. And let's do step 3, which is solve the proportion. Now, a trick when you're solving proportions is that you cross multiply. You're going to do an x, basically. X goes like this, and then like this. The first part of the x is multiply. The second part of the x is divide. So, you always start with the 2 numbers that you know. This part of the x I know. 550 times 90. Let's use our calculator for that. 550 times 90. Can you see that? 49,500. That's the first part. Now the second part, you draw your x down like this. We don't know this number, so you just take the number that you know, divided by 54. Divided by 54, and I get 916.666667. We're going to round that. 916.67. That's how we solve the proportion. So remember, when you're working with proportions, you have to make an x on top of it. You'll have a ratio on one side, a ratio on the other side, and one of the values will be missing. You make an x, and you start with the one that has both of them filled in, which would have been this part of the x. Multiply 550 times 90, then you divide by the only number in the second part of the x, which was 54. Back to our word problem checklist. Double check your math. Okay, we worked out the conversion twice, so I'm not going to check that a third time. We set up the proportions. Let's double check the math that we did here. Okay, we need to take 550 times 90. And that gives me 49,500. And we're dividing by the second part of the x with the number that I know, divided by 54. And I get, again, 916.67. So I've double checked, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the right answer. Back to our checklist. Step 4, reflect on the problem. Did you answer the question? Is your answer close to the estimate? The question said, how many calories will she burn in 1.5 hours? And I ended up figuring that I have a certain number of calories, 916.67. Was our answer close to the estimate? Let's go look back. We said the estimate was 900 calories, and I ended up with 916 calories. Very close. So again, check. I think we did it right. Nice job.